Hello everyone, my name is Rebecca, and in this week's video, I'm going to be drawing my OCs into chaotic memes. For my Valentine's Day video, I drew my original characters into the almost kissing meme. I had a lot of fun getting to draw my OCs in different scenarios, so I thought I would draw more of my characters into more memes. I found a lot of these by searching Draw Your Squad on Pinterest. So yeah, let's jump into drawing. The first meme we'll be working with is this one. There seems to be a character that is very mad, and then 3 other characters. 2 of them are shocked and the third one is cheering them on. So there are 4 characters in total, and when there are 4 characters, it makes it very easy for me to use the main crew from my webcomic, My Next Door Neighbors. I will quickly introduce them in case you don't read my webcomic. First is the main character Doris. She is extremely shy but tries her best to come out of her shell. Next is Chase. He is very friendly and popular with many of his classmates. He is also on the tennis team. Then we have Brayson, Chase's former stepbrother. Brayson is pretty aloof and is most often found with earbuds in his ears listening to music. And last but not least is Annabelle. She is a go-getter that likes to take charge. She is very protective of the people she cares about. So for the character that is very aggravated, I'm drawing Doris. Now, based off the description I just gave you, you are probably thinking that Doris is an odd choice for this spot in the meme. Oh, also, for all of these memes, I'm going to be drawing mostly in my chibi elf style. I usually save the style for my chibi elf characters, but I thought this style would work well for the memes since I find it easier to make my characters more expressive in this style. And a lot of these are kind of in a chibi-esque sort of style. For the character in the middle that is shocked, I am drawing Chase. He is taken aback by Doris's outburst. I actually end up changing his expression a bit in the end. He is still shocked, but I also add some blushy marks because I think Chase would also find Doris being angry very cute. It's probably like seeing an angry bunny rabbit. For the character that is cheering on the angry character and also filming it, we have Brayson. Brayson is usually pretty nonchalant, but I feel like he would love seeing Doris lose her temper and would be all for it, especially since he has more of a connection as to why Doris is mad in this scenario. And yes, I did make up a whole little backstory for this, and I'll tell you about it in a little bit. Drawing Brayson in this pose was really fun. I don't get to draw Brayson with big expressions very often, so I always love when I get to. I thought it would feel odd drawing my webcomic characters in my chibi elf style, but it didn't feel weird at all. I was wondering why, and then it dawned on me that I use a chibi elf-like style in my webcomic pretty often, especially for less serious panels because it's a lot faster to draw the characters in this way. So yeah, thankfully it didn't feel weird at all to draw them in this style. And for the surprise character, I'm drawing Annabelle. Honestly, I did consider drawing Annabelle in the slot that Brayson is in, because I could also see her being in full support of Doris's anger. But I also feel like Annabelle would be concerned for Doris and her mental state. Also, to those of you who are fans of my webcomic, I do apologize that it's taking so long for a new chapter to come out. I think I last posted one in December, so yeah, it's been a really long time. The chapter I'm working on has about 10 pages left, and each chapter in Season 3 has been about 50 pages, so I'm getting pretty close to finishing this chapter. I'm thinking I'll be able to post a new chapter in the first week of April, hopefully. I want to at least get one more chapter out before the baby is born, and he's due in early May, so yeah. Anyways, we're now on to inking. I am using my usual line art brush for this. I did debate about just doing a cleaner sketch instead of line work, but for adding colors, line work felt easier to work with than a sketch. With sketches, it's much harder to just fill in the colors with the paint bucket tool, whereas with line art, it's way easier. Plus, my first sketches were detailed enough that I didn't need to do a second sketch, so I felt okay going straight into line art. So for the backstory as to what's going on here, a detail you need to know is that Doris and Brayson both work at Brayson's mom's flower shop. Brayson's mom's name is Azami. So one day Doris is working and a lady walks in for an appointment with Azami. This lady is ordering a bunch of flowers and stuff for her wedding, and basically she's a total bridezilla. She is rude and not easy to work with at all. Doris tries her best to focus on what she is doing, but she keeps finding herself listening in on the meeting. The bride is being very passive-aggressive and demanding, while Azami is trying her best to stay polite and professional. Doris isn't usually one to step into a conflict, but at this time Doris really wanted to go and tell the lady to be nicer to Azami, but she knew that was not her place, so she bottles up all of the things that she is thinking and feeling. Well, after work, when Doris was asked how her shift went, she couldn't help but vent out all of the pent-up emotions she had. The group, of course, is surprised since Doris is not usually like this, but Bryson thinks it's pretty great and he films Doris to show his mom later. He knew his mom would love seeing how much the rude customer enraged Doris, since he felt like his mom was probably annoyed with the customer as well. So yeah, that's my backstory as to why Doris is very angry in this moment. For the coloring of all of these, I'm keeping them pretty simple and I'm going with my style of coloring that I use for my webcomic. It's mostly just some cell shading with a few highlights usually added to the hair. So here is Doris, Annabelle, Chase, and Bryson. I did really love drawing Doris and Bryson in this way, since like I was saying, they don't make these kinds of expressions very often. Before moving on to the next memes and set of characters, I'd like to take a moment to look at the Parblo Coast 16 Pro Gen 2. Parblo sent me this tablet and are the sponsors of this video, but all thoughts and opinions are my own. Also, I do apologize for the screen flicker in this footage. The screen does not look like this in real life. I just could not get my camera to cooperate with me. Anyways, the Parblo Coast 16 Pro Gen 2 offers some really interesting and unique features, especially in the pen. The short stroke hard pen SO1 is optimized for handwriting performance and has over 16,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. This is roughly double the pressure levels you see with other tablets. The pen is also wireless, battery-free, and can store extra nibs in the back, which I think is very nifty. Now for the tablet, it offers a 15.6-inch active work area that is fully laminated and has a matte finish. I love when tablets have a matte finish. It makes the drawing process feel much more natural, and I have to say the finish on this tablet feels very nice to draw on. Plus, the screen being laminated is a nice touch. This basically means that the screen, glass, digitizer, and display form a unified piece. So there's no gap between the pen and the display, making your experience parallax-free. There are also two ways to set up the tablet. If you have a PC that supports USB-C, you can simply use the full-featured USB-C cord. Thankfully, setup is still really easy using the 3-in-1 cable. That's the one I used. My only nitpick with this tablet is that when using the stabilize feature in Clip Studio Paint, it does not behave how it usually does. My stroke eventually freezes and jumps ahead to meet my cursor. This is most apparent when stabilization is set to a high value. I did mention this to Parblo, and they did say they were aware of this. This is personally kind of a big deal for me since I rely on stabilization a lot for my line work to draw smoother lines. However, if you are an artist that does not use stabilization, this won't be an issue for you at all. Overall, my experience with the Parblo Coast 16 Pro Gen 2 was a good one. It was easy to set up, the workspace is a nice size, and it felt really good to sketch on. If you want to check out this tablet for yourself, I have links in the description and pinned comment down below. Thank you so much again to Parblo for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to drawing. Right when I saw this meme, I knew exactly which characters would fit into it, and those OCs are Railen and Owen. So this meme is depicting a character with a bat that looks like they beat up a character that was messing with the second character. And this character seems to be in awe by the first character's actions. This fits Railen and Owen way too well, and we'll get into why in a bit. But first I do want to introduce you to Railen and Owen in case you don't know them. They are kind of lesser known OCs of mine, but if you are a longtime viewer, you probably know of Railen at least. Railen was actually made for a drawing challenge many years ago. I could check how long ago, but I kind of don't want to. It will make me feel old if I do. I have always really liked her design and personality, so she has always kind of stuck around and occasionally appears on the channel. Basically, Railen is part sheep, however, she does not act like a sheep at all. She is loud, abrasive, and pretty rebellious. She hates being told what to do and doesn't like when people underestimate her. And so that's Railen in a nutshell. Then we have Owen. Now, Owen was not made in a YouTube video, I just designed him in my free time. Owen is basically the opposite of Railen. He is a wolf that doesn't act like a wolf. He gets scared easily and is very timid. He has a more quiet personality and doesn't like to cause trouble. And so Railen is a sheep that acts like a wolf, and Owen is a wolf that acts like a sheep. Like I said, this meme fits these two very well because in my head, Railen and Owen first meet each other when Railen saved Owen from a bunch of other wolf teens that were picking on him. Owen is often subjected to being bullied since he is very weak compared to the other wolves. However, Railen doesn't use a bat to beat up the mean kids. Instead, she uses a mixture of kicking, punching, and spray paint. Railen is a bit of an artist and likes to do work with spray paint. She used to do it in places where she's not supposed to, but after getting into trouble several times, she made the agreement with her dad that she would only spray paint as kind of a side job. So like local businesses will hire her to make art on their buildings. However, Railen might still spray paint in abandoned areas from time to time. Possibly. I've never really had a long overarching story in my head for Railen and Owen. I did almost make a short story for them one time, and it was basically about Railen trying to help Owen to be more brave so he doesn't get beat up all the time. I don't draw Railen and Owen that often, but I do draw Owen much less than I draw Railen, so I had a lot of fun getting to draw him. In the original meme, the character looked more like they were blushing, like they potentially liked the character. But for Owen, I drew him with more of an awestruck kind of face. And I'll add a bunch of sparkles to kind of express that he thinks she's really cool. After Railen saves him, Owen kind of becomes a fanboy of Railen and befriends her kind of against Raylan's will. So here's my finished art of Railen and Owen. I love getting to draw these two again, and I had extra fun drawing Owen. And I feel like he turned out really cute. Next, I'm going to be drawing characters into this meme. And I felt like the characters that fit this one very well were Silva and Malachi. Silva is a princess from the fairy story I am working on. She was created in this video from a TikTok challenge. And I really liked her design, so she became a pretty essential character in Pariah's world. Silva is the character saying someone will die. I felt like this fits Silva because she is more of a realist. She's the kind of person that more looks at the facts of a situation and tries to not let her emotions cloud her judgment. However, due to past experiences, she can be more on the pessimistic side at times. And the character saying of fun is Malachi, or Kai. Kai is Silva's personal messenger, and he is young, so he's still in training. He has a very happy go-getter personality. He's the sunshine of Silva's group. I created Kai in this video. It was once again for a character design challenge. It's funny how many of my fairy characters come from design challenges. Basically, Silva and all of her crew are from design challenges. Malachi looks pretty different from the other fairy characters because he is a starling. Instead of getting their magical powers from plants, they get their powers from cosmic energy. Malachi is a messenger starling, so he can use his magic to send messages via shooting stars. Also, Malachi's design has changed just a bit from his original design. He no longer has the star marking on his forehead, and he also has a different nose shape. He no longer has the star on his head because now that is a characteristic that only healer starlings have. However, healer starlings do not have horns. Oh, and I also draw him with a different nose shape now. To help my characters feel more unique, I'm trying to be better about drawing them with different kinds of facial features, as well as body types. So like instead of everyone getting the same nose shape, I'm trying to use different ones. I also chose these two because they are about the same height, which I do find funny because Silva is way older than Malachi. But Silva is also very short, so she's about Malachi's height. I got a question on last week's video requesting that I give you all an update on how Pariah's story is going. And I don't have much to update you all on. As usual, I'm still very much in the planning and writing phase. I do kind of have the basic premise and outline of the starting chapters in my head and kind of written out. But I am a little stuck on the part of the story where we get more introduced to Silva and her kingdom, so I'm trying to mostly figure that out. That is partially why I want to make a video on designing her kingdom, because I feel like if I had more visuals, I would be better able to write things out for this setting. Since I am an artist, I find I can be a very visual person when it comes to writing, which is why I do tend to design characters very early on in the process. I can write a character better if I'm able to fully picture them, so I feel like I'd be able to write a setting better if I'm able to fully picture the setting. So yeah, I don't have a ton to update you all on, but I am making progress where and when I can. My mind most recently is often preoccupied with baby-related matters like appointments and getting all the stuff we need. I'm currently 32 weeks, almost 33, and I need to be induced a week early. So the baby should be here in a little under 7 weeks. And that's kind of crazy to say. It's so close, but also far. I do have the changing table set up as well as the bassinet. We don't have the space for a dedicated nursery at the moment, but thankfully our bedroom is a very good size, so there's enough room for the baby's things in there. So yeah, we have a lot of the essentials kind of set up now, and I'm kind of waiting until after the baby shower to buy the remaining smaller items. But anyways, here's the finished art of Silva and Malachi. It's been forever since I last drew Malachi, so I was really happy to get to draw him again. This last meme literally describes two of my characters perfectly. We have the older, super cool experienced teen / young adult, and some kid they took under their wing. Also, they are practically siblings. And this describes Pariah and Carson's dynamic way too well. Pariah isn't technically a kid, she's a teen, but she has a very childlike personality and wonder to her, so I felt like this was still fitting. In case you don't know, Pariah is the main character of my fairy story. She is a plant-growing fairy, also known as a typic, but she does not know what kind of plant that she grows, and she's unable to grow it. Pariah is a bit naive at times. She is often happy and cheerful, but does deal with a lot of inner emotions. Then we have Carson, who gets a major redesign in this video. Carson is very clever and street smart. He mostly grew up as an orphan, so he had to learn to do a lot of things on his own. Also, I did decide to do both a rough sketch and a cleanup sketch for this drawing. For all the other ones, I only did one sketch, but I felt like for this one to help me get the posing in place, I needed to do a rougher sketch and then a cleanup sketch. The rougher sketch was nice because it allowed me to kind of get the characters in place and in proper position since they are kind of interacting a little bit more. And the cleanup sketch is to make the line art process easier. Pariah and Carson have pretty much always been a duo. I made Carson not too long after creating Pariah. Carson used to be more of a love interest for Pariah. That was like way back in the day. However, in this more current version, they are more like friends or siblings. I've stated this in previous videos, but for Pariah's story, I want to focus more on lore, world building, and relationships outside of romantic ones. But like I have also said, if over the time of me writing out the story, a romantic relationship between characters feels natural, I will include it. So yeah, these two share a very different dynamic now compared to my old writings. Also, I made Pariah and Carson when I was like 17, so I've had them as characters for a very long time. I was actually working on making a short 40 to 50 page comic of Pariah's story back in the day. This was a little bit before my first comic, I Want to Be a Magical Girl. I was really dedicated to finishing Pariah's short comic, but my computer died and I lost a lot of the work I did, so that made me give up on it. It was sad at the time, but now I'm kind of happy that it happened, because if I had made that short comic, I don't think we would have the Pariah and characters that we have now. And I really like a lot of the new characters. Also, off topic, but I may have made the mistake of getting back into Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been fighting the urge to play it for months, and I finally caved in. I have always been a huge Animal Crossing fan, and I have hundreds of hours in New Horizons. Since I have played the game so much, I don't have a ton to do, and I don't want to reset my island because that would just be sad. But I decided to redecorate my living room because it was still Christmas themed from when I had last played like ages ago. So now I'm making it spring themed. I'm also doing the main lobby area of my island, where the town hall and the shops are. I've always been okay with the layout I did, but I've never loved it, so I'm redoing that portion. For a lot of my island, I don't really want to touch it because it does have so many memories and nostalgia attached to it. But I don't mind changing a few areas that I was never 100% happy with. Plus, I have been making sure to take pictures before changing things so I can remember what things looked like previously. That way, if maybe I do want to go back to how it looked before, I can. I am also possibly trying to catch any of the last fish, bugs, and sea creatures I am missing. I have a majority of them caught, but some of the rare ones just like don't want to come to me. Anyways, this video was a lot of fun to work on. It was great to get to draw so many of my characters in these different situations and getting to draw them with different emotions. I also got to draw characters that I don't draw very often, so that was really cool. I definitely want to do this again sometime, so I'm going to try to keep my eye out for more things to draw my characters into. If you have any specific OCs of mine you'd like to see in a future video like this, please let me know down in the comments. Oh, also, I think my favorite one is the one of Carson and Pariah. I feel like Pariah just turned out really cute in this one. Before we end, I want to thank my super awesome YouTube members and Patreon patrons for their support. It means so much to me. And thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!